this video begins, let me just tell you about the two videos that I uploaded recently, Chemistry of Sour and Bitter, and Do Computers Dream of Human Minds? Why Mind Uploading is Improbable. Both of these videos were very highly rated when I did polls, both on Twitter and here on YouTube, yet they have surprisingly low engagement, which surprises me. After all, people voted for these videos. Partly this tells me that people are still not being notified, which is why I keep telling you, you have to make sure that you click that bell. Being subscribed is just not enough. Also make sure you follow me on Twitter, because I update there whenever I upload a video. However, in one of these polls I also asked people if perhaps one of the reasons that I had such low engagement was because the most popular video type on my channel had been in lacking amount as of late. The last debunking video I did is about 3 months old now, unless you want to count the video I did responding to James Allsup. But that is still a month and a half, and yeah, it's been a while. And you guys really seem to enjoy my debunking videos, so I kinda get it. Therefore, I'm gonna start making a bunch of debunking videos for the next week or so to sort of make up for it. However, that being said, I still spent a lot of time and energy on these videos. Chemistry of Sour and Bitter and Do Computers Dream of Human Minds. And I would greatly appreciate it if you actually bother to watch them after this video is done. You will find a link to them below. Most of you guys voted for those videos after all. That's really all I ask. Anyway, let's get this shit started. And today I'm going to start with a video that has quite a lot of views and is worryingly ignorant regarding the facts of how solar eclipses work. According to this guy, the solar eclipse that happened back in 2017 supposedly proved that the Earth is flat. Yes. That is the level of ignorance we're dealing with here. I really bring out the big guns, don't I, for to start this fucking marathon of debunkings. Anyway, let's begin.
There's a lot of talk about eclipses lately, due to the upcoming event of the August 21st solar eclipse. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon's shadow falls somewhere on the Earth's surface. A lunar eclipse is the opposite. This happens when the Earth's shadow falls on the moon. During the total solar eclipse taking place on August 21st, a strange occurrence is going to take place. During this particular eclipse, the shadow of the moon will be traveling from the west coast to the east coast. In a short video, and I'll post this link below in the description, the question was posed to the Washington Post as to why. Many people are asking the question, why the shadow is going to be moving from the west to the east coast.
Right, this isn't very complicated at all. You see, the Earth appears to rotate anti-clockwise if you look at it down from the North Pole. If the moon was stationary, no, it wouldn't really make any sense that the shadow would be moving from west to east. However, there is one factor you've forgotten here, sir, and it's pretty obvious. Let me make this very clear to you. The moon has a fucking orbit, okay? The moon orbits the Earth. And the orbit is anti-clockwise, just like the Earth's rotation. Now, since the velocity of the moon is double that of the velocity of the rotation of the Earth, the moon's shadow will be casted from west to east.
A lady by the name of Sarah from the science department of the Washington Post is supposed to be answering for science. However, once you take a closer, more critical look at some of the answers that were given, you will see exactly how convoluted these questions are. Well, wait a minute. What it sounds like to me is that this guy's trying to manipulate the data. Now, also according to the heliocentric model, yes, it's true that the moon does orbit around the sun, somewhere around the speed of 2,288 miles per hour. But the distance of the moon, according to the heliocentric model, is said to be right around 238,000 miles away from the Earth. Also, let's remember that the moon only orbits around the Earth once every 28 days.
That's the United States, and the shadow is coming from west to east. That's the Earth spinning around the same time. But what we're also told by the scientific community is that the moon is at a much greater distance. The moon is supposed to be 238,000 miles away. And we're also told that the moon orbits around the Earth once every 28 days approximately. So it shouldn't be traveling at the same amount of speed looking parallel to the Earth, you see? That makes no sense on the heliocentric model, because that's not what we're told, right? We're told that 24 hours, the moon moves this way. 24 hours, moon's still moving. 24 hours, boom, boom.
All right, so to summarize your point, sir, you're wondering why it is that it only takes 24 hours for Earth's orbit to conclude, while it takes almost an entire month for the moon's orbit around the Earth to conclude. Now, unless you're somewhat educated in physics, this may seem like a contradiction, but it's actually not. You just need to know the difference between tangent velocity and angular velocity. You see, the distance of the moon that you brought up before actually works in favor of the heliocentric model because it gives the moon enough distance to have a greater tangent velocity and yet take almost an entire month to complete one revolution.
The sun and moon make a clockwise circuit around the face of the flat Earth. The sun moves slightly faster than the moon. Seeing as how the sun moves faster than the moon in this continuing circuit, every now and then the sun will overtake the moon and bypass it in the air and cast a shadow over sections on the face of the Earth. This temporary overlap causes what we know as an eclipse.
Whoa, hold on, dude. Like, how does your model here, the flat Earth model, in any way explain a lunar eclipse? The flat Earth model that you have here, in a very ad hoc manner, may I add, does kinda explain the problem with the solar eclipse, as you pointed out, but not really, as I've just explained. But the biggest problem is, how do you explain the lunar eclipse? Like, seriously, if the sun is moving around the Earth, as it's portrayed here in the flat Earth model, and the moon is as well, what exactly is blocking the sunlight from reaching the moon during a lunar eclipse? Yeah. You didn't think about that one, did you?
Because the sun and moon are small and close, what happens here's what's going to happen, or what will work according to the eclipse. It's like the sun overlaps the moon there, and you see the shadow go from east to west as the sun overtakes the moon.
Dude, seriously, do you think these things through? I can immediately tell one big problem with what you're doing here. If the sun is above the moon, from the perspective of the surface of the flat Earth, then how come, genius, that we can see the moon during pitch black night? Yeah, I thought so. No fucking explanation. Alright, that's that video. Now let's move on to a second video of a jackass claiming that C-14 in diamonds somehow disproved the theory of evolution. Yes, I'm treating you to two videos that I respond to. Aren't I generous?
Why should you believe in creation and not evolution? I mean, scientifically speaking, haven't we proven that evolution is a fact? For there to be any hope that evolution happened, our Earth must be millions and billions of years old. After all, without millions of years, there's no way that an amoeba or a frog or a fish had time to evolve into a man.
Dude, have you ever tried looking at an evolutionary tree? Because if you did, you would easily find that the amoeba and the frog have not branched off anywhere on the evolutionary tree, where the logical next step in their evolution would be to give rise to us. Humans belong to apes, that in turn belong to primates, that in turn belong to mammals. We are not amphibians like frogs. And if you honestly are trying to compare amoebas to multicell organisms like a human being, you're really reaching. I don't know what to tell you. But hey, I don't think you're actually just ignorant, sir. I think you are a lying piece of shit, to be honest. I've seen too many people of your type. You try to appear holier than thou, and you try to make it seem like you have so much godly righteousness within you, when in reality you're usually just pathetic, insecure, science denialists, no more worthy of any kind of sympathy than your average flat earther or anti-vaxxer.
Now, many people mistakenly appeal to carbon-14, or C-14 dating, to support the supposed old ages that evolution requires.
Okay, let me just add this. If anyone tries to use carbon-14 to argue in favor of evolution, That's not the best strategy to use, because carbon-14 is actually not the best metric we have to date something in terms of how old it is, if you want to go to the timescales that are usually involved in what we call evolution. Carbon-14 works for the timescales of thousands of years, not really tens of thousands, and definitely not hundreds of thousands, and when you get to the timescales of millions, well, carbon-14 is pretty much fucking useless.
C-14 dating isn't actually used to date things that are thought to be millions of years old.
Well, no shit. Just like I explained, it's not used for that. It's used on a timescale of a few thousand years, not millions.
That's because C-14 doesn't last very long. It decays away quite rapidly.
Hey, you actually got something correct. I'm surprised.
Rock samples that supposedly contain zero C-14, like fossils and coal and limestone, are used for the test.
No. If the sample is believed to be somewhere between 40 to 60,000 years old or older, there's no way you try to use carbon-14 dating to see its age. The reason for that is the upper limit of carbon-14 dating is about 50,000 years.
The problem? Labs began realizing that the test samples had measurable amounts of C-14 in it.
Citation fucking needed. My god, you're so full of shit. Well, how about that? Color me surprised. No fucking citation whatsoever in your description.
So the scientists concluded that the samples all must have been contaminated somehow, even if they had thoroughly been prepared for the test to ensure no contamination.
This point of yours is mute because I suspect you pulled this out of your fucking ass. You have not provided a single citation to this very serious claim. Nor do I find anything regarding this when I search online.
Interestingly enough, a blank sample measured zero C-14, so it wasn't a machine error.
Isn't lying against the 10 Commandments or something?
Diamonds are considered by secular geologists to be billions of years old. They're the hardest natural substance, and so they resist contamination.
Alright, I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. Let's just say that he's correct, that there's C-14 in diamonds. Well, that C-14 can come there from many different natural sources, such as the radioactive decay of very heavy elements, such as uranium, for instance. You see, whatever you do, you're always going to find some C-14 in any sample that's older than 50,000 years. Now, some of you might be asking, but Sandre, you just said that the upper limit of C-14 is about 50,000 years. Yeah, but that's not because we can't detect any C-14 in a sample that's older than 50,000 years, because we can. It's just, it's not reliable beyond 50,000 years. Because beyond 50,000 years in age of a sample, we know that that C-14 must have come from some kind of contamination. You will always find contamination of C-14 in pretty much any sample, unless it's a very specific example during very extreme conditions. Carbon is an element that's very common to find, especially on the Earth's surface. I mean, for fuck's sake, you are a carbon-based life form after all. And where you have a cluster of carbon atoms, most likely at least one of them is going to be C-14.
Diamonds are formed over 100 miles below the surface.
Actually, that's a bit of a myth. A lot of diamonds are formed that way, yes, but many diamonds are also formed as shallow as about 70 to 80 miles, I think.
And are brought up extremely quickly by pipes. It's nearly impossible that diamonds could be contaminated by any foreign C-14, and there shouldn't be any intrinsic to the diamonds if they're billions of years old.
As I just explained, anything that you will try and analyze will have some contaminations on them. Whenever that diamond is brought to the surface of the Earth, which it has to be for us to be able to test it right, it's gonna inevitably be contaminated with C-14. To find C-14 on a diamond, even one that just arose from the deep bellows of the Earth, is not a huge surprise.
They're believing in a theory, despite science in the lab giving conflicting data.
Which theory exactly are you referring to here? The theory of diamond formation or the theory of evolution? Because let me tell you, pal, it doesn't really matter. A theory is not what you think it is, or what you say to people it is, because you're a disingenuous cunt. A theory is actually the highest label that any idea in the scientific procedure can have. The way you use the word theory is more suiting to a hypothesis. A theory is something that has been attempted to be disproven multiple times, yet has failed to be disproven every time. As you continue to try and disprove a theory, it becomes stronger by default, as you are essentially exhausting the alternatives to that theory. I swear to your imaginary god, you people need to read some Karl Popper. Anyway guys, that's the video. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I'm gonna make a bunch of these debunking videos now in a row, so expect the next week or so to be filled with these being uploaded very often.